The baby suddenly stopped crying, and every armed man in the mansion froze. Beat because in this house, silence was more dangerous than screams. Hi, welcome to another story. Let's start it. The mansion fell silent except for the sound of a child's desperate sobbing echoing through marble hallways. 5-year-old Giovanni Vital sat alone at the massive dining table. Untouched food growing cold before him, tears streaming down his pale cheeks. Please, sir, we've tried everything, whispered the trembling nanny to the imposing figure in the doorway.
He won't eat for anyone. Today it's been 3 days.
Stefano Vitali, Miami's most feared mafia boss, stood frozen, his tailored black suit and cold demeanor, unable to mask the helplessness in his dark eyes. His son was wasting away, and he was powerless to stop it. That's when she appeared. Alejandra Vargas, the new maid with kind eyes and calloused hands, ignored every protocol. She knelt beside Giovanni, gently brushing his tears away, and whispered, "In Spanish, Estebanino, you just miss your mama, don't you?" For the first time in months, Giovanni's crying stopped. Stefano's breath caught. No expensive nanny, knuckled psychologist had been able to reach his son. But this unknown woman had done the impossible with just a whisper. Who was she? The Miami sun blazed mercilessly as Alejandra Vargas clutched the crumpled address in her sweating palm. Coral Gables. She'd never imagined she'd set foot in this neighborhood of mansions and manicured lawns, where her monthly rent wouldn't cover a single dinner at the restaurants here. "Signor, are you sure this is the right place?" the taxi driver asked, eyeing the imposing iron gates ahead. Alejandra checked the address again. Villa Serenitar. The name was etched in elegant script on black marble. Through the gates, she could see a Mediterranean-style mansion that looked like something from a movie. Crayon-cold walls, terracotta roof tiles, and palm trees swaying in perfectly landscaped gardens. "See, this is it," she replied, though her voice betrayed her uncertainty. 3 weeks ago, she'd been fired from her job as a housekeeper at a downtown hotel. The manager claimed she was too emotional with the guests, always asking about their families, remembering their preferences. In Mexico, caring about people was a virtue. In Miami, apparently it was alienability. Now, with only $47 left and her visa status hanging by a thread, this mysterious job posting had been her salvation. Domestic assistant needed, excellent pay. Discretion required, experience with children preferred. The gates opened silently as she approached, as if someone had been watching. Alejandra walked up the winding driveway, her worn sneakers silent on the pristine pavement. Everything here whispered of wealth, the fountain with dancing dolphins, the luxury cars parked like sleeping giants, the windows that sparkled like diamonds. A stern woman in a black uniform opened the massive front door before Alejandra could knock. "You must be the new girl," the woman said in accented English. "Italian, maybe." "I'm Francesca, the head housekeeper." "You're late. I'm sorry." The bust. "No excuses. Mr. Vitali doesn't tolerate lateness." Francesca's eyes swept over Alejandra's simple jeans and white blouse with obvious disapproval. "Follow me, and remember, speak only when spoken to. Never ask personal questions, and whatever you see or hear in this house stays in this house. Understood?" Alejandra nodded, though confusion swirled in her mind. What kind of household required succeekery? The interior took her breath away. Marble floors reflected crystal chandeliers. Oil paintings in golden frames lined the walls, and everything gleamed with the kind of perfection that money could buy. But despite its beauty, something felt wrong. The house was too quiet, too tense. Like everyone was holding their breath. "The child's room is upstairs," Francesca continued, her heels clicking sharply. "Giovanni, 5 years old. Hanister difficult since his mother passed. We've had 7 nannies in 6 months. None lasted more than 2 weeks, sir." They climbed a grand staircase, and Alejandra noticed men in dark suits stationed at various points throughout the house, security guards. Their eyes followed her movement with professional intensity. "What happened to his mother?" Alejandra asked softly. Francesca stopped abruptly. "I told you no personal questions. That's the fastest way to get fired here." They reached a hallway lined with family portraits. Alejandra's steps slowed as she studied them. A beautiful woman with warm brown eyes holding a baby. The same woman laughing at a beach. And finally, a formal familiar portrait. The woman, a small boy with dark curls and a man whose presence dominated the frame, even in a photograph. Stefano Vital, even in that picture, he was intimidating, tall, broad-shouldered, with sharp cheekbones and eyes like black ice. His white dress shirt was open at the collar, revealing a glimpse of a tattoo on his neck, and an expensive watch caught the camera's flash. Everything about him screamed power and danger. "That's Mr. Vital," Francesca said, noticing her stare. And that was his wife, Mariana. She died in a car accident 8 months ago. Alejandra's heart clenched. A widower were raising Ayong's son alone. No wonder the child was struggling. They stopped outside a door painted with cheerful cartoon characters, a stark contrast to the house's formal elegance. From inside came the sound of muffled crying. "Giovanni hasn't eaten properly in 3 days," Francesca explained. "He won't let anyone ouch him, won't speak, won't play. The pediatrician says there's nothing physically wrong." But she shrugged helplessly. Alejandra pushed open the door gently. The room was a child's parades. Toys everywhere, a race car bed, walls painted like a jungle scene. But in the center of it all, a small boy sat on the floor, knees pulled to his chest, sobbing quietly. Her heart broke instantly. "Giovanni," she called softly, kneeling to his level. The boy looked up, revealing eyes exactly like his father's, dark, intense, but filled with a pain number 5-year-old should carry. His face was streaked with tears, his dark curls messy. "Hola, mi amor," Alejandra whispered, switching instinctively to Spanish. "I'm Alejandra. What's wrong, Penna?" Something in her tone made Giovanni stop crying. He stared at her with curious eyes. "You talk funny," he said in a small voice. Alejandra smiled. "I'm from Mexico. We speak Spanish here. Do you want to learn some words?" For the first time, Giovanni showed interest. He nodded slightly. "Okay, hola means hello. Can you say hola?" "Hola," Giovanni repeated, his pronunciation perfect. "Mean, very good." Alejandra clapped softly. "Now, are you hungry, Townhammer?" Giovanni's stomach growled audibly, answering for him. But when Alejandra stood to get his lunch tray, he grabbed her hand. "Don't leave," he whispered. "Everyone always leaves." The raw vulnerability in his voice nearly brought tears to her eyes. "I'm not going anywhere, Menino. I'm just getting your food. I'll be right back. I promise." As she helped Giovanni eat, the first full meal he'd had in days, Alejandra felt eyes watching them. She turned to find a figure in the doorway and her breath caught. Stefano Vitali was even more imposing in person. He filled the doorway with his presence, his white dress shirt unbuttoned at the collar, revealing the edge of an intricate tattoo on his neck. A platinum Rolex gleamed on his wrist as he crossed his arms, studying the scene before him with unreadable dark eyes. "Papa," Giovanni called out, his face lighting up for the first time. But Stefano's expression remained cold, distant. "Eat your dinner, Giovanni, I have work to do." As he turned to leave, Alejandra felt a surge of protective anger. This little boy needed his father, not another employee. "Mr. Vital," she called out, surprising herself with her boldness. He stopped, turning slowly. When their eyes met, Alejandra felt an electric shock run through her. Up close, she could see the exhaustion hidden behind his intimidating facade. The grief he carried like armor. "Your son missed Judo Day," she said. Simply. For a moment something flickered in Stefano's eyes. Surprise, pain, maybe even gratitude, but it vanished quickly, replaced by his usual mask of control. "Just do your job, Miss Vargas." "Alejandra Vargas." He nodded curtly and disappeared down the hallway, leaving Alejandra with a racing heart and the strangest feeling that her life had just changed forever. 3 days into her new job, Alejandra had established a routine that seemed to work miracles. Giovanni ate every meal, laughed during their Spanish lessons, and had even started sleeping through the night. Butch was learning that success in the Vital household came with unexpected complications. "The boss wants to see you," Christopher, the head of security, announced as she finished helping Giovanni with his breakfast. The man's expression was unreadable, but something in his tone made her stomach flutter with nervousness. "Did I do something wrong?" she asked, automatically switching to English. "Just follow me." Stefano's office was a study in controlled power. Dark wood paneling, leather-bound books, and windows overlooking the Miami skyline. He sat behind a massive desk reviewing documents, his white shirt crisp and perfectly pressed despite the early hour. The top 4 buttons were undone, revealing the strong column of his throat and the edge of his neck tattoo. An intricate design that looked both elegant and dangerous. "Sit," he commanded without looking up. Alejandra perched on the edge of the leather chair, her hands folded in her lap. She'd changed from her usual jeans into a simple black dress, hoping to look more professional. But under Stefano's scrutiny, she felt underdressed and out of place. "Giovanni ate all his breakfast this morning," Stefano said, finally raising his eyes to meet hers. "And yesterday's lunch and dinner?" "Yes, sir." "In 3 days, you've accomplished what 7 trained nannies couldn't in 6 months." He leaned back in his chair, studying her with those penetrating dark eyes. "How?" Alejandra chose her words carefully. "I listened to him." "In Mexico, we believe children need to feel heard, not just fed." Mexico hesed the word like he was tasting it. "You're here legally?" Heat flooded her cheeks. "I have a work visa, but IT expires soon." I don't care about your documentation status," he interrupted. "I care about my son. He's been different since his mother died." Withdrawn, angry. The child psychologist stated it could take years for him to recover. Alejandra's heart ached for both father and son. "Grief has no timeline, Mr. Vital, especially for children. They don't understand why someone they love disappears." Something shifted in Stefano's expressions, a crack in his carefully maintained composure. "What do you understand about loss?" The question was personal, intimate in a way that surprised her. "I lost my father when I was Giovanni's age, a work accident. My mother, she tried, but she was drowning in her own pain. I learned that sometimes children need someone who isn't drowning to throw them a lifeline." Stefano was quiet for a long moment, his fingers drumming against the leather desk pad. His platinum Rolex caught feminine light streaming through the windows. "Your salary is being doubled," he said finally. "You'll also receive health insurance and housing assistance." Alejandra's eyes widened. "Sir, that's very generous, but it's not generosity, it's business. My son needs stability, and you're providing that. Don't make me regret this decision." As stood to leave, Stefano's voice stopped her at the door. "Miss Vargas, thank you." The words were simple, but the vulnerability in his voice made her heart skip. When she turned back, their eyes met for a moment that stretched longer than it should have, filled with an awareness that had nothing to do with employer and employee. That afternoon, Alejandra discovered another side of the Vado household when Joey, the driver, offered to take her grocery shopping for Giovanni's meals. "Boss never lets anyone cook for the kid," Joey explained as they drove through downtown Miami. "But he made an exception for you. That's unusual. Why?" Joey glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "Mr. Vital doesn't trust easy. His world, our world. It is dangerous. People get close for the wrong reasons. Money, power, information. But you just see a sad little boy who needs his mama." At the market, Alejandra marveled at their freedom to choose ingredients without checking prices. She selected fresh vegetables, spices from the international aisle, and ingredients for Giovanni's favorite Mexican dishes, foods that reminded her of home and comfort. "What's that?" Giovanni asked later, watching her prepare fresh salsa pico de gallo. "It's like a party in your mouth. Tomatoes, onions, cilantro and lime juice dancing together." Giovanni giggled, the first genuine laugh heard from him. "Can I help?" "Of course, Mayam, but first, wash your hands like a chef." They cooked together. Giovanni standing on a step stool, carefully stirring ingredients while Alejandra told him stories about her grandmother's kitchen in Guadalajara. The boy absorbed every word, asking questions about Mexico, about her family, about foods he'd never tried. "Why did you come to America?" Giovanni asked as they waited for the Queso de las to cook. "For opportunities," Alejandra said carefully. "Sometimes we have to leave home to find our dreams. Do you miss your mama? The innocent question hit her unexpectedly every day. But missing someone doesn't mean we stop living. It means we carry their love with us wherever we go. Giovanni nodded solemnly. I miss my ma too. But I like when you're here. You smell like vanilla and cinnamon, like mama used to. Alejandra's eyes filled with tears. She knelt to Giovanni's level, cupping his face gently. Your mama's love is still here, Penno. In your heart, in your papa's heart, in all the good memories. I can't replace her. Booty can help you remember that love. Will you stay? Giovanni asked, his dark eyes so much like his father's filled with hope and fear. As long as you need me, she promised. Neither of them noticed Stefano standing in the kitchen doorway, having come home early from work. He watched his son laugh, really laugh, for the first time since Mariana's death. He saw the gentle way Alejandra touched Giovanni's hair, the patient way she answered his endless questions, the love that seemed to flow naturally from her. And for the first time in 8 months, Stefano felt something other than grief and rage. He felt hope, but he also felt something more dangerous. An attraction to the woman who was bringing his family back to life. An attraction that could complicate everything in his carefully controlled world. As Alejandra turned and caught sight of him, their eyes met across the kitchen. The moment stretched between them, charged with an awareness neither could deny. She was beautiful, yes, but it was more than that. She was light in a world that had been dark for too long. Papa, Giovanni called out, breaking the spell. Alejandra taught me to make Mexican food. Try it, Stefano approached slowly, accepting the small plate his son offered with pride. The food was simple but delicious, seasoned with care and love, things that had been missing from this house for far too long. It's very good, he said, and meant it. Giovanni beamed. Alejandra says, food tastes better when you make it with people you love. Stefano's eyes found Alejandra's again, and this time neither looked away. 2 weeks later, Alejandra had settled into a rhythm that felt dangerously close to belonging. Giovanni had transformed from a withdrawn, grieving child into a bright, curious boy who filled the mansion with laughter. But with that success came an unexpected complication: Stefano's increasing presence in their daily routine. Papa, watch this, Giovanni called out from the pool where Alejandra was teaching him to swim. I can hold my breath for 10 seconds. Stefano had started coming home earlier, joining them for dinner, even helping with bedtime stories. Today he sat poolside in dark swim shorts and a white linen shirt, the afternoon sun highlighting the strong lines of his shoulders and the intricate tattoo that curved along his neck. Very impressive, Filio. Stefano called back, but high eyes were on Alejandra. She tried to ignore the way his gaze made her skin warm, focusing instead on Giovanni's swimming technique. But it was impossible to miss how Stefano had changed over the past weeks. The coldest dance had thawed into something warmer, more protective. He smiled more, laughed at Giovanni's jokes, and sometimes caught her looking at him with an intensity that made her breath catch. Alejandra, will you teach Papa to make your abuela's enchiladas? Giovanni asked as they told off. He said he wants to learn Mexican cooking. Did he now? Alejandra glanced at Stefano, who had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. Giovanni mentioned. They were his favorites, Stefano said, his accent making the words sound like velvet. I thought perhaps you could show me the recipe. That evening, the kitchen became an intimate classroom. Alejandra stood close to Stefano, guiding his hands as he learned to roll enchiladas properly. Every accidental touch sent electricity through her, his fingers brushing hers as she corrected his technique. The warmth of his body when he leaned over her shoulder to watch her prepare the sauce. Like this, he asked, his breath warm against her ear. See, perfect, she whispered, then immediately stepped back, needing distance from the dangerous intimacy off moment. But Stefano followed, closing the space between them. Alejandra, he said softly, I need to ask you something. Before she could respond, Christopher burst through the kitchen doors, his expression grim. Boss, we have a problem. The Russians are moving on the port shipment. The transformation in Stefano was instant and chilling. The warmth vanished in an instant. The gentle man disappeared, replaced by something colder, deadlier. How many? Stefano asked, his voice sharp. 6 vehicles, maybe more. They weren't attacking yet. They were measuring him, testing response time. Stefano's jaw tightened. His fingers drifted to his watch, an unconscious habit Alejandra had come to recognize. Calculation, probability, survival. Double the security detail, he ordered. Every entrance, every blind spot. And the family? Christopher asked, his eyes flicking toward Alejandra and Giovanni. Full lockdown, Stefano said without hesitation. No one leaves the property. As the men spoke in clipped, military precision, Alejandra felt the blood drain from her face. This was the real world Stefano lived in, not the man who laughed in the pool with his son, not the father who taught Giovanni how to float. This was a man hunted by enemies who moved with violence and patience. Papa? Giovanni stood in the doorway, rubbing sleep from his eyes. Why is everyone so loud? Stefano's expression shifted instantly. The steel vanished.
He knelt. Just business, Filio, he said gently. Go back to bed.
Alejandra will read you a story. But Giovanni was already watching the room. The tension. The fear adults tried to hide. Are the bad people coming again? He asked quietly. Alejandra's heart broke. How many times had this child lived through this? No one will hurt you, Stefano said, pulling him close. Papa promises. That night, sleep refused to come. Alejandra wandered into the kitchen and found Stefano standing at the window. His white dress shirt was rumpled. A shoulder holster was visible beneath his jacket. You should be sleeping, he said without turning. So should you. He faced her then, and she saw it. The weight. The loneliness. The cost of command. This life isn't safe, he said softly. Not for people I love. Mariana knew that, he continued. She chose it anyway. She paid the price. Alejandra swallowed. The accident wasn't an accident. Stefano said nothing. That's why they killed her, Alejandra whispered. To hurt you. I should send you away, he said, stepping closer. You and Giovanni. But you won't, she said. No, he admitted. Because for the first time in 8 months, my son is happy. He hesitated. Because I'm falling in love with you. The words hit harder than any threat. Before either could speak again, alarms screamed. Red lights flooded the halls. Lockdown. Initiated. Christopher's voice boomed. This is not a drill. Stefano moved instantly, pulling Alejandra close. Stay with Giovanni. Don't leave his room. What's happening? They're done testing, he said coldly. They're coming. At dawn, the house erupted. Glass shattered. Gunfire echoed. Giovanni screamed. Alejandra ran. She grabbed him, raced to the hidden panic room, sealed the door. On the monitor's dashboard, steph. No. Bleeding, relentless. Papa's hurt, Giovanni sobbed. He's strong, she said, praying it was true. When silence finally fell, Stefano appeared, bloodied, alive. It's over, he said. For now. Then he said the words she feared. Pack your things. I'm sending you away. No, she whispered. They know about you now, he said. I won't lose you like I lost her. Giovanni broke. You don't want us anymore. He cried. Everyone leaves. That broke steph and then the photograph. Alejandra and Giovanni watched. Tracked. There's no running, Stefano said quietly. So we fight, Alejandra replied. Even Giovanni stood his ground. I don't want to go, he said. We're a family. And Stefano chose. Love over fear. The trap was set. The museum. Natasha Romanoff walked in smiling. The fight was brutal, public, explosive. Alejandra fought, protected, chose violence to save love. Natasha lost. The war ended. That night, Stefano knelt. Will you marry me? Yes. Years later, laughter filled the house. Flower on hands. Children shouting. Fear was gone. Love remained. Forever.